These days, people in their 20s and 30s, the so-called MZ generation, are gradually starting to join Atomy. Yesterday, there was someone who was exactly 30 years old. He works in the rental car business, and he just came to Atomy thinking, if I get introduced to some customers here, maybe I can get some rental car referrals too. So I was just saying hello and leaving. There's a song by teacher Joo Hyun Mi called The Person Who Made a Promise. Singer Joo Hyun Mi. When I was rewriting that singer's song, I used it as meet again at Atomy, and there was this particular line in the lyrics. When you meet again, don't talk about yourself, but rather listen to what the other person is interested in. But that's really true. Originally, I was just going to say a quick hello and leave. But then I said I was in my 30s, that I was 30, and asked, boss, you invest in stocks, right? And he said, yes, he does invest in stocks. Oh, I'm a seohakant. What seohakant means is that I invest in US stocks. These days, people in their 20s and 30s are really into stocks. So I said, oh, really? And then I started talking, focusing on what he was interested in. But you know, when young people come in these days, here's what happens. They really don't like just talking for the sake of talking. What do they like? Facts. And when I look at the people who have recently come to see me, there are people like this too. When I said I've been doing this since 2017, you know, there are so many scammers in multi-level marketing. So do they believe what I say or not? They don't believe it. They want to see the actual data. So they asked me to open up all the commissions I've received since 2017. It was the first time I met someone who wanted to see every year's worth of commissions I've received from 2017 until now. Because they have experience in network marketing. So I showed them everything. After I showed them everything and they saw the growth, what do you think happened? They couldn't say a word. They said, wow, you've really worked hard. That's what they said. But when it comes to stocks, those men are really detail-oriented, you know? Since I did a lot of hard Atomy work, that friend also started reading people's physiognomy. So let me give you all a tip. Now, physiognomy isn't 100% accurate, but in my experience, there are people whose noses are shaped like arrows. Do you know what an arrow-shaped nose looks like? I actually have a bit of an arrow-shaped nose myself. My mom has an arrow-shaped nose too. And director Lee Deok-ho, the Imperial Master, also has an arrow-shaped nose. When you talk like this, you can see the arrow shape of the nose, especially when someone smiles. People with arrow-shaped noses, they tend to be quick to take action. They have strong drive. How should I put it? They're action-oriented, so they're bold. They're smart. I'm not saying that I'm smart. So when that person looked at my physiognomy, they noticed my nose was arrow-shaped. And the questions they asked were so sharp and precise. So I answered them just as precisely. Then I showed them a year's worth of Atomy records. Then they asked me to show the stock returns as well. What's your annual average return? I said the same thing because I mentioned I was good at stocks, and they immediately asked, then what's your annual average return? That's how it was. So I realized I didn't really know my annual average return. So I just showed them and they said, oh, you use the same app as me. And because of that friend, I learned something I hadn't known for 5 years. Then, to my relief, my annual average return turned out to be 37.8%. That's pretty impressive. Starting this year, so when I checked for this year, it was even higher. So I asked, then boss, what's your annual average return if you look at just this year? But then he wouldn't show me his 1-year record. He said if he showed the whole year's record, there would be a negative period during my time, so what would I do then? Fortunately, I ended up being more intellectually capable than the other person. If not, I almost would have lost. Well, lost is the right word. He said something, and if I had just gone along, I would have ended up looking like a braggart. So I realized you really shouldn't boast carelessly. It was just too lucky. Wow, you're really good at this, seriously. That's how the conversation started to open up, everyone. So that friend started asking really detailed questions about the company. But everyone, you know how Atomy has a higher age demographic. So young people ask, how big is the company now? How much has the company expanded globally? What are the company's sales figures? They ask these kinds of detailed questions. Since he studies stocks, he asked things like, according to the company's financial statements, if labor costs keep rising in Korea, wouldn't that make things unsustainable? How does the company survive? He talks like that. So how would you answer those questions? You probably wouldn't be able to answer, but I was able to answer. So in that situation, is it okay to just say, oh, but our chairman is different? Is that okay? If you answer like that when someone asks a logical question, you're just blindly trusting the management and the chairman's philosophy. So if you just keep saying our chairman is the best, our company is the best to people who are asking for data rationally, but can't provide any concrete figures, you'll just get criticized. So then what should you do when you meet people like that? I think it's better to be honest and open about that part. Since I'm lacking in that area, I'll ask my sponsor and let you know. That's better. Do you understand what I mean? Look at me, for example. When I boasted, they asked, what's your average annual return? Show me. And then when they see the exact average annual figure in your account, but imagine if I was in the negative, then I'd be completely ignored. People would say, those MLM folks are all talk, just scammers. I almost heard that, right? So now I try not to speak carelessly. So anyway, that's why you shouldn't brag recklessly. You have to be humble. I didn't know that myself this time, but for a moment, because, with stocks, you don't always do well. But people only show off the times they do well. But fortunately, when people ask about the annual average, they're asking about the average. It's the same with Atomy. I talked about that. I've been with Atomy for 9 years. I have 13,000 members and I make about 90 million won a year. That's after VAT is deducted. So that means I make over 100 million won a year. So yeah, I do government bonds and everything. So when I talk about the flow of the times, I talk about Atomy as a brand with value. Why? I succeeded because I was pathetic and unsuccessful, but that's not the case anymore. That era is over. Oh, my husband and I are managing 1 billion won in cash right now, and the cash flow from Atomy is incredible. Yes, when I look at the Imperials, they just received 100 million won in Korean currency every month, so their cash flow is no joke. What's the point if your money is tied up in real estate? It's just locked up. I said that my cash flow from Atomy just keeps coming in over and over. But now that makes people curious, right? So someone who wasn't interested at first starts asking questions. That means they're interested. But do you know what this person said? They said, I have something I'm curious about. Every company has its downsides, right? So what's Atomy's downside? That's what they asked me. So do you know what I said? Atomy's downside? Of course there is one. For people with strong influence, Atomy might feel boring. Why? If you're someone with outstanding personal ability, then investing in stocks is the right fit. With stocks, as long as you do well on your own, that's all that matters. But Atomy is about teamwork. So if you try to make everything fit your own style just because you're highly capable, the whole organization will leave. So because it's about teamwork, you have to adjust and move forward together. That's why it can feel a bit boring. When I said this, that person thought for a moment and said, I don't think that's much of a risk. It was like after hearing what I said, they were like, They were left with a question mark. Then on their way home, they started looking things up and even ended up placing an order themselves. Earlier, I mentioned that people with a hooked nose act quickly. So they personally placed the order, starting with toilet paper, and said they standardized the password so that we could all use the same one. So what happens then? Of course, I went and bragged about it to my partner boss. I told them, look, I got this message. So what do you think happened? Until 10 o'clock, no one left. Everyone stayed at home taking orders. And I even got an order for 50 boxes of mackerel as Chuseok gifts. Just like that. So everyone, that's what teamwork is like at Atomy. But this is how I see it. Not everyone has to be good at everything. I can't take orders for 50 boxes of mackerel myself. But there are people who are good at that. People who are good at giving lectures, people who are good at selling, people who are good at talking. Everyone's talents are different. So our talents, this is what I told that person. But sir, since you do stocks, let me say this. If someone has assets of, say, 20 billion won or even 100 billion won, they don't really fit with Atomy's style. Why? Because we have an upper limit. The maximum is 100 million won in Korean currency. So we don't give more than that. Because what one person could take is divided among 10 people. So if someone wants to make 2 billion or even 10 billion, this might not be the right fit for them. And then he said, wow, but even 100 million won is a lot. It's not a small amount, especially when the cash flow comes in like that. That's right. That's the reality, everyone. When the cash keeps coming in steadily, everyone. Do you know how powerful that is? When I saw Imperial Nim and the money just kept moving in and out of that account, I realized, wow, cash flow really is the best. That saying is true for Atomy. Imperial Nim. Hey, even if you spend it all, it comes in again. Even if you spend it all, it comes in again. That saying is true. Even I'm like, oh, what is this? It feels like I don't have any money, but then it comes in again. But imagine if this keeps getting bigger every year. How happy would you be? So just the other day, our partner CEOs were all going crazy. But why does passion arise? I have to be crazy about it myself. Only when I'm overflowing with passion will my partners also go all in without wavering. But if I'm like, Am I really doing this or not actually? Ugh, I'm so anxious I could die. You know, you have thoughts like that. Then my partners won't do it either. It's like a typhoon is blowing. Sai, I'm not making any money, so should I even be doing this? Seriously. But earlier today, I said I don't have any detailed leaps, right? But the reason I can teach others and manage them is because I know how to handle all those details myself. If I just said, oh, just do it without knowing anything, do you think I could organize a team like this? I couldn't. And I wouldn't be able to give consultations either. So we have to go step by step, gradually. If you try to take big leaps, anything that rises quickly is bound to fall quickly as well. That's why you need to have a lot of inner strength too. So these days, I really feel grateful for everything, being able to gain experience at a young age. Because honestly, the economy is really tough these days. Even though the economy is tough, things are going well, aren't they? When that happens, it really draws you in. Ah, that's right. Just the other day, a friend of mine who runs a rental car business told me about this. He said, I run a rental car business, but there are some confusing aspects. He was saying things like this. So I asked, like what? He said that he also sells cars. And even within that, the wealth gap is just too big. People who run corporations have so many assets. So when you look at that world, it's like money means nothing to them. But there are a lot of ordinary people, right? So there are so many people who really need to make money. For those people, it's really tough. But seeing how the gap is getting so much bigger, he seemed like someone who felt anxious and thought, I really need to make money quickly and get ahead fast. So he definitely had ambition. That's why I told him, don't miss out on Atomy either. Anyway, it's great that he's doing rental cars and stocks and all that. It fits with the trends of the times. But since there's nothing to lose from any of these things, I told him not to let go of Atomy either and to keep at it. And then he said this, our director, Sharon Rose Master, back in the day, Coupang, you know the Korean company Coupang, right? He said he used to do distribution at Coupang, automobile distribution specifically. He even tried doing deliveries like that. At that time, he delivered a lot of products from Amway and Atomy. So he knew about the company Atomy, but he didn't realize it was such a detailed and incredible company. Then what kind of people are there in Atomy these days? People only know it as a good company, a multi-level marketing company, just a good MLM company. That's about all they know. But you know the people who do car deliveries these days, people who used to work at places like CJ, for example, are seeing Atomy's shipment volume keep increasing. Even within our organization, I will work hard as well. There are people like that. Why? I've been watching since about 7 or 8 years ago, and only Atomy keeps growing. Why is that? The fact that the volume is increasing means that things are going well, right? After seeing that, they said they would definitely do it, so there are people who keep coming to the seminars now. So now, more and more people are coming in, and the level is getting higher. So what happens now? You need to study. How? Not just focusing on your own Atomy or only doing Atomy. You need to know a variety of things. You also need to know about the economy. Why? You don't have to know it in depth. I don't know it deeply either. But you should at least be able to talk about the general trends, the way things are flowing. Among my partner's customers, there's one who used to run a cleaning business. So he used to run a cleaning service, basically providing cleaning staff on a contract basis. But as the economy got tougher, outside of Gangnam in the Gangbuk area, there were fewer opportunities to send people out, right? When the economy gets tough, people tend to cut back on temporary spending like that. So he started to feel a sense of crisis. At first, things were going well. So he said to me, Sharon Rose Master, to be honest, this is a bit embarrassing and shameful for me to say. I only recently found out about AI. That's what he said. There are still so many people who don't know much, and if their own work is going well, they don't pay attention to how the world is changing. They just think, oh, this will be my lifelong livelihood, and keep doing it. But when your path suddenly turns bleak and money stops coming in and things get tough, you start to wonder, what is going on? I wasn't like this before, so why is it getting harder and harder for me? But when you look, there's nothing there. This kind of thing happens so often, but it's because the world has changed. I mean, I wasn't like this in the past either. It's all in the past. Why is it so difficult now? Because the times have changed. You need to quickly realize how fast things are changing. But there are so many people who just don't understand how the economy is moving. So even though people work hard every day, they should be finding the right tools to keep up with the changing world, earn more, and live better. But they just don't seem willing to change in their own work. That's why things keep getting harder. So unfortunately, these sad situations keep happening, and the gap between the rich and poor keeps getting worse. That's why we need to study. We need to understand the flow of the economy. And also, different people are coming into our line now. Yes, they're joining our leg. Then when people join my leg, there might be golfers, taekwondo athletes, housewives, all sorts of people. You need to ask yourself if you are at a level where you can actually consult with those people. But if you can't do that, then you still need to serve more and create more consumers. People who are easy for me to approach. Why? Because by getting used to rejection from those easy to approach people and building up my resilience, I can become stronger. Then I can move on to people who are a bit more sophisticated, those who are more educated, or who ask detailed fact-based questions. At that point, you need to be at a level where you can explain things to them. And I think, I can talk to someone at this level, and then I go and talk to those people. Practice. After practicing, you might fail again. You might even say something inappropriate. Sometimes we might just blurt out something like, we put bellflower root in the newsletter. If they hear it once, they won't remember. Consumers forget again. After practicing like that and becoming more solid, then you can really reach the high class. Now you can even confidently talk to people who discuss real economic matters, people who have assets worth tens of billions. Now, I have that kind of confidence. And since I'm confident about economics, I actually make money. And even with my husband, we do financial planning together. So I can talk about economic topics without missing a beat. Even to someone who served 3 terms as a member of the National Assembly, I asked, what does the country like? Isn't it exports, job creation, and paying a lot of taxes? So I spoke confidently like this, and what happened? That's right. Right? Atomy is doing all of this. That's what I've become now. So what happens when you do this? They introduce their nephew to you. So you need to say something that people want to hear, something that can really draw them in. When I first met that new 30-year-old renter, if I had been with a partner from Atomy, they would have talked about Atomy when I started talking about stocks. They might have wondered, why are you only talking about stocks? They could have thought that, but for me, stocks aren't the goal. If you listen to someone talk about their interests for 2 hours, right? Then only after that do they start to get curious about Atomy. So when that friend suddenly started talking about stocks, I just let him talk. It seemed like he made some money. He actually did make some. So of course he wanted to brag about it. And since I was listening intently, what do you think happened? I started to understand, right? So what did I do then? I took advantage of that moment. Oh, I realized I could connect the company's sales to Atomy. So I asked, is your company publicly listed? That's what I said. Is Atomy publicly listed? No, it's not. We don't have any shareholders. Why? Because when prices go up, it's good for shareholders, but that doesn't fit Atomy's concept. So although we wanted to go public at first, we decided not to. Currently, there are 4 shareholders. It's the chairman, his wife, and their children, each holding 25%. When people talk like that, it makes you wonder, so which company does the manufacturing? How does it work? Is it Ojemi? What is it? How does it work? Is that the main focus? This is how people analyze Atomy as a company. Then they started getting curious about Atomy's left and right points and its marketing. I taught them step by step how you can sponsor 30,000 points on the left and 30,000 points on the right. And after that, they placed an order themselves. Then they contacted me again. And do you know what they said? I don't think there are that many types of daily necessities, but for now, I tried ordering toilet paper first, and his girlfriend does Pilates. That's what I heard. So then wouldn't his girlfriend also get connected through Pilates? So he said, if I get a better understanding, I'll persuade my girlfriend and have her create an account as well. This is it, everyone. This. Constantly getting introduced to new people like this. Then what do the partner owners think about me? They'll trust me. So the other day, there were about 4 people. And when they saw me consulting and having meetings like that, they realized it was a new meeting. Seeing that, they thought, we should assign a scenario master to him. We should assign one. This kind of trust is built. Everyone, when that happens, my influence grows stronger. So what happens then? I can coordinate all the schedules according to my own time. That's when you reach the stage of enjoying Atomy. It's not about adjusting to the customer's schedule anymore. Once your words carry weight and you have influence, if you arrange meetings according to your own schedule and time, you can work at Atomy with joy. Why would you feel stressed? You're setting things according to your own time, aren't you? You can adjust things to your own condition, can't you? There's nothing to be stressed about at all. I always schedule everything according to my own time. Why? Because when Choi Jin-hwa meets someone, I have the ability to instantly draw them in. So because I have that much confidence, how do I get anyone I meet to become interested and stick to Atomy? I've developed a sense for it now, a kind of know-how. So since I also arrange things according to my own time, what happens? I end up working with so much enjoyment. You all need to go through that process too, so what should you do? Even down to those delicate details. Even now, I still take orders myself. I don't miss a single thing. Why? Because I dream of becoming an imperial master. If I was satisfied with my current commission, at 93 years old, I'd just say, ugh, what a hassle. Why are they calling me about this? Did you order the toothpaste with the lower point value? It could end up like this. Why is this old person even looking at this? I have to put this in. It's overflowing for me. It could turn out like this, everyone. But since I have a super dream, what happens? My father placed an order. Oh, thanks to this, my partner is able to maintain their status. Oh, I can set up auto sales maintenance. That would be helpful. When you think like this, what happens? It becomes really enjoyable. So you should always try to think joyfully and with gratitude. Then things will just work out on their own. And my partner's CEOs will be duplicated in the same way. You understand what I mean, right? In my